I have been sitting here thinking about this team, and honestly, the Cleveland Browns are heading into the season with a major question mark in the backfield that nobody is talking about. While everyone obsesses over the quarterback battle and the offensive line, the reality is that Quinshon Judkins is coming off a major injury, and our depth at running back looks dangerously thin. This matters because if our lead back cannot carry the load efficiently, our entire offensive identity under Todd Monken could crumble before it even gets started. And honestly, the more details come out, the harder it is to ignore what is going on behind the scenes. Smash that like button, subscribe, and tell me your name and city in the comments. Let's get into it. While the media keeps focusing on our quarterback battle and the overhaul of the offensive line, there is a massive, quiet concern looming over the 2026 Cleveland Browns: the state of our rushing attack under head coach Todd Monken. We are heading into the season with second-year player Quinshon Judkins at the top of the depth chart. Yet serious questions remain about whether he can handle the load after his Week 16 dislocated ankle and fractured fibula last year. Judkins showed flashes as a rookie, carrying the ball 230 times for 827 yards and 7 touchdowns. But his 3.6 yard per carry average leaves plenty of room for improvement. After starting strong, he struggled to maintain momentum and often looked worn down by the end of conference play. The depth behind him feels thin, with Dylan Sampson currently projected as the secondary back despite being primarily a pass-catching threat, and Raheem Sanders lingering as a third option who has yet to prove he can contribute consistently at this level. Here is where it gets interesting, as we find ourselves lacking a reliable veteran presence like the one we had in previous seasons. Fan favorite Nick Chubb has hinted at a potential return, and other veterans like Joe Mixon or Alvin Kamara are available. Yet the front office remains silent on making a definitive move. As Cleveland Browns fans, we have to ask if relying on a recovering second-year starter and an unproven committee is a recipe for success or a major oversight that will haunt us when the cold weather sets in. With the season fast approaching, we are left wondering if the team plans to stand pat with this current rotation, or if they are waiting for a specific trigger to pull the plug and sign a proven veteran to bolster the backfield. The most surprising reality facing our backfield is that the Browns may actually consider bringing back Nick Chubb to salvage a rotation currently lacking a proven veteran leader. This potential reunion stems from the team losing Jerome Ford, whose departure left a leadership void that Quinshon Judkins, Dylan Sampson, and Raheem Sanders simply have not filled yet. We are looking at a group with major questions regarding durability and production, especially after Judkins suffered a dislocated ankle and fractured fibula last season. While he managed 827 yards on 230 carries, his 3.6 yard per carry average is a concern for a starter expected to anchor an offense under Todd Monken. Historically, this team has relied on a bell cow approach to sustain drives, but the current depth chart lacks that reliability. The truth is, the front office is likely panicking behind closed doors about whether these younger players can handle the heavy lifting required for a full season. Monken is known for his flexibility, yet he requires talent that can maintain efficiency above the 4.0 yard per carry mark, a threshold Judkins failed to reach in most of his appearances last year. If the coaching staff does not believe the current trio can provide consistency, they might look toward free agents like Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, or even an affordable trade for Alvin Kamara to shore up the room for under $1.5 million. We have seen this organization struggle when the transition from a veteran star to an unproven rookie happens too fast, and the lack of a reliable secondary option puts immense pressure on our quarterback to perform under duress. Management knows that relying solely on a recovering second-year player is a gamble that could derail our entire offensive identity before we reach the middle of the season. While the quarterback battle grabs the headlines, the real concern for our offense is the glaring uncertainty surrounding our ground game under Todd Monken. We are heading into 2026 with an unproven backfield that lacks both depth and proven efficiency. And I cannot stress this enough, we must address this before the season opener if we hope to compete. With Quinshon Judkins returning from a severe leg injury and posting a subpar 3.6 yards per carry last year, relying on him as a bell cow is a massive gamble. Our current depth chart, featuring Dylan Sampson and Raheem Sanders, does not offer the reliability we once had with players like Jerome Ford or Nick Chubb. If we cannot establish a consistent rushing attack, our offense will be one-dimensional, making us vulnerable against tough division rivals like the Bengals and Steelers, who pride themselves on defensive toughness. This personnel gap forces our coaching staff to consider veteran free agents or trade targets like Alvin Kamara to stabilize the position. A high-volume veteran presence would not only protect Judkins during his recovery, but also provide the necessary consistency to keep drives alive. Without a legitimate threat in the backfield, our ability to control the clock in critical late-season matchups will dwindle, significantly harming our chances of securing a playoff spot in a crowded conference. We need someone capable of shouldering the load to keep our offense balanced and dangerous. The front office needs to realize that the current configuration is simply not a finished product for a team with high expectations. We cannot afford to enter September with such a significant question mark at running back, as it could easily derail our entire season before it truly begins. Adding a veteran piece is not just an option, it is an absolute necessity for us to remain relevant this year. The biggest question facing the Browns this season is whether our current rushing attack can truly thrive under Todd Monken. The upside of leaning into this current group is that Monken is known for his immense flexibility, meaning he could potentially scheme around the youth of Quinshawn Judkins to find hidden efficiency. However, the risk is glaring because Judkins is returning from a severe injury involving a dislocated ankle and a fractured fibula. With his 3.6 yards per carry average from last year, there is no guarantee he can handle the heavy load required of a primary starter. This is where it gets real, as we must acknowledge that relying solely on second-year players like Dylan Sampson or Raheem Sanders could leave our backfield dangerously thin if things go south early in the season. Many league analysts have pointed out that we lack a reliable, high-volume backup to keep the offense moving when the starters fatigue. Several names have surfaced as potential veteran solutions to bolster this depth, specifically players like Nick Chubb, Najee Harris, and Joe Mixon, all of whom could be secured for a relatively modest cost. While the idea of a reunion with a fan favorite like Nick Chubb pulls at the heartstrings, I think we have to be practical about whether that is the best football move for a 30-year-old veteran. What I really think is that while a veteran addition is necessary, we shouldn't overpay for name recognition alone. Alvin Kamara is another intriguing name linked to us, though relying on any older veteran to solve all our efficiency woes might be an overblown narrative. We need to be methodical in building a backfield that balances the long-term potential of our young guys with the steady, reliable production of a proven professional who can consistently hit that 4-yard mark. The uncertainty surrounding our backfield suggests the Browns are in a transitional phase where long-term stability is still a work in progress. For us as Cleveland Browns fans, this means the front office is prioritizing flexibility over a set-in-stone identity as head coach Todd Monken settles into his vision. Here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. We are currently banking on a high-upside gamble with Quinshawn Judkins that could define the team's offensive ceiling for the next few years. You should feel cautiously optimistic but watchful heading into September, because while our talent is undeniable, relying on a young runner coming off a severe injury requires a realistic buffer. If the efficiency does not improve above that 3.6-yard average, this team will struggle to sustain drives, which is exactly why adding a veteran presence like Nick Chubb or a cost-effective contributor like Alvin Kamara makes so much sense to protect our investment in these younger guys. We need that insurance policy to ensure we are not left scrambling if the current rotation hits a wall. It is about balancing the excitement of seeing what Judkins and Dylan Sampson can do with the cold reality of needing consistent production to compete in an unforgiving league. The path forward depends on how quickly these young backs adapt to the demands of a full NFL schedule. Given the current depth chart concerns, would you prefer the front office signs a veteran like Nick Chubb to mentor the group or pursues a trade for an established weapon like Alvin Kamara to ensure immediate production? If you enjoyed the video, do not forget to like it and subscribe to the channel. Dawg Pound. I'll see you in the next one.